All right, everyone, the leftists are freaking out right now because you've got a new evangelical member of Congress, Madison Cawthorn. He's only 24. He's actually the youngest person elected to the U.S. House in U.S. history, so that's a big congratulations. But instead of congratulating him, the leftists are fixated on two things. First, they tried to attack him by insinuating he was a Nazi, because while he was in Germany, he took a tour, and part of that was at the Eagle's Nest. Now, keep in mind, that's a big tourist destination. It is. Probably 100,000 people visited every year, and they're trying to single him out because he made a post, I guess, on Instagram or something where he was there, and he's actually in his wheelchair at the time. He's wheelchair bound, I believe, and they're trying to insinuate that it's like a dog whistle to white supremacists. So I guess that everyone who's ever visited Marx's grave is a communist. Well, I think you have to pay like €5 in order to see it, which is, I think, that just desserts for a communist. But anyway, then they're trying to say that he's done something. He's anti-Semitic, I guess, because he attempted to convert Jewish people as part of his religion. I guess he's done missionary work, so he's attempted to convert Muslims and Jews to Christendom. I'm failing to see the problem. Number one, there are other evangelicals in Congress that I assure you have done missionary work along those same lines. Number two, you have Islamic missionary work all the time. If Elon Omar were to do this sort of thing, the Daily Beast would never have a negative write-up about it. They'd probably say it was wonderful and progressive because it would be seen as a foreign religion, according to the left. The funny part is Christianity being born out of the same general region of the world, but we'll get past that. Now, keep this in mind. I'm apatheistic. I don't really care about the God thing. And I'm anti-religious. I would say I'm irreligious in the sense that I don't belong to an organized religion. I'm also anti-religious in the sense that belief in God, I don't have a problem with. Whatever God or pantheon or cosmic force, who cares? Spirituality, I think, is a positive thing for mankind. The general belief in something beyond yourself, whatever form it takes, can be helpful. Religion, though, in the sense of brick-and-mortar churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, dogmatized rituals laid down in a book, and especially human dispensation of knowledge or a command, like by a pope or something, I see that as a largely negative force in the world. It causes wars, or at least it's used as an excuse for war. The doctrine can be misinterpreted to support genocide and so forth, persecutions. I think it's unhelpful. It's like any other command and power structure. It tends to be corrupt. The Catholic Church has a lot of gold while talking about giving to the poor, for example. I'm uncomfortable with that human tendency. But who gives a shit? There are other evangelicals in Congress, and the Daily Beast will generally rant about religion in the state unless it's, again, Elon Omar's faith. That being said, the idea that attempting to convert someone makes you anti-Semitic, like going up to a Jewish person saying, hey, have you heard about Jesus, or whatever, that's what evangelicals do. They've been doing it for 1,000 years. These days, they don't do it by fire and sword, generally speaking. What's the problem? He did missionary work. You think he's going to continue doing that as a congressperson? That would be a conflict of interest. Separation of church and state would apply. That would be a little bit different. If he's private citizen Madison Cawthorn, and he's like with a church group or something, and they go to the Middle East, and they're, ministering to people and spreading Jesus around according to whatever, religious backdrop he has, who cares? And for them to do a write-up about it is really funny. Like, if he were a leftist, and he were like, let's say he were a leftist Islamist, and he were trying to convert people. Number one, you wouldn't get an article. And number two, if someone criticized him, they'd say, well, he's just a kid, leave him alone. He's only 24 years old. What a fucking double standard we get from the leftists, especially on the topic of religion. I've noticed this lately. They're still all in against evangelicals. And they really seem to have a bone to pick with us pagans as well. And I say that in the non-religious sense of paganism. And even against kind of atheism at times. Like, they're like, well, these atheists are coordinating with the far right or something like that. But other religious groups, they not only are tolerating, but they celebrate them. Like when Joe Biden, I guess Catholicism is the only form of Christendom that they don't have a problem with, and that's because Biden's a Catholic, so it's okay. What is Trump actually? Methodist or something? He doesn't seem to take it too seriously, which is what we need in a president, by the way. Biden does the Jesus thing more than Bush did. He invokes religion more often than fucking W did. He's constantly talking about his faith. Oh, my faith, I pray for you, and I pray for him, and my faith tells me that I should pass this policy and not pass that policy. It's really weird, because he's the Democrat. Of course, we're used to the Republicans being like that. This individual, of course, a Republican, swept in on the new populistic wave. It's basically what we're seeing now in Congress is similar to the Tea Party wave. You've seen most of the Dems' gains in the last midterms have been wiped out. Most of their extra seats have been taken by Republicans. I think there's still time for the Republicans to grab a couple more if they're called as well. That's significant, and most of the ones that won, it's just like on the left. And this is technically true. And AOC, Omar, Sanders, all the others have pointed this out. A lot of the newly minted Dems come from the progressive left. Likewise, a lot of the newly minted Republicans, they come from the populist right. The vaguely nativistic, certainly populistic, Trumpist right. They're not coming from neocon Jebland. The two parties are both experiencing schisms. The Republicans a lot less, though, because in party, those individuals generally coordinate on more issues. The right wing, in some cases, is too amenable to negotiation. They're too forgiving when it comes to things. They're like, okay, you can abuse me outright, but just give me a few breadcrumbs, and they feel fine. Oh, no, the gun control we have is fine, just don't pass any more of it. Okay, magazine ban, we can live with that, but just don't go for my AR-15. That's the Republicans. On the Democratic side with the far left, they do the opposite. They go too far. They're like, no, we're not going to negotiate with you at all. We want 100% of what we've got on this piece of paper, and if you don't pass it, we'll lock the government down. They plant their feet very stubbornly. There's a reason why the donkey is their trademark animal. Very, very stubborn individuals indeed. Better than the Republicans in some ways. That being said, it's the populist right that's rising up right now. It's the Trump right. That's why in 2024, if Trump manages to get rigged out of this election by election fraud, you can expect him probably to come back in 2024 unless his brain is fried out. And apparently having Alzheimer's is no longer disqualifying. Just look at Joe Biden. He's became the Democratic nominee, won the popular vote at least, voter fraud aside. But them freaking out about him doing evangelical like missionary work as a private citizen, the constituents there obviously didn't have a problem with it, so why should the Daily Beast? It's because of the particular religion that he's religious from. It's not the fact that he's religious. It's not the fact that he did missionary work. It's the fact that he's an evangelical Christian. That's what it miffs them that the youngest person in Congress would also be religious, because optically, it's a little bit different. If the face of evangelicals is some 65-year-old pastor, the Daily Beast actually likes that. They can mock them. So, oh, it's outdated and stuff. Kind of hard to argue that a 24-year-old is outdated in their views. That's about all. Peace out.